As dawn breaks and suburbia sleeps, deep in the Gloucestershire Cotswolds, the first rays of sunshine begin to penetrate the crystal clear waters of Hearn Pool. Steeped in history from a bygone age, the pool was formed to service the railway back in the days of steam. Today, however, it's a haven for fish and wildlife and home to one of the most sought after carp in the country, the elusive Blackeye. What you are about to witness is one angler's quest for this majestic creature, filmed over a period of time in the summer of 2008. The angler is Hearn, arguably one of Britain's top carp anglers, and this is his quest for Blackeye.
Well, here we are up in Gloucestershire. I'm at Chad Lakes on the Hearn Pool, and owner Dave Ayres, he's kindly invited me up to it for a few days. I don't know, I've got about 5 days fishing up here if I'm lucky. It's a real nice little lake. I got down here yesterday in the afternoon. I haven't caught up with Dave yet. I'm hoping to catch up with him this evening. He's going to bring along his photo album. So I'll see what carp are in here then, but there's one that I know definitely is in here, and that's a famous old carp called Blackeye. And the last time that fish was caught was around last October time, and it was over 51 pounds. As you can see, it's quite an attraction. He definitely didn't need to twist my arm. So I got here yesterday afternoon, about midday, and it was really, really hot. It was sort of 28 degrees, but the fish were really evident. You could see them everywhere, cruising on top. It's only a small lake. It's probably, I don't know, acre and a half, very, very small. So location was never going to be a problem, and the hot weather just made it all the easier. Easy to find them, really difficult to get them feeding. And it wasn't really until sort of about 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening, once the temperature started to cool off, that I started noticing the first sort of signs of any feeding activity. Now, you know what it's like the first time when you're on a new lake. You know, you're unsure what to do, you don't know what the bottom's like. The water's very coloured, so it's difficult for me to see the bottom in any areas. You know, it wasn't until I actually put the rig in that I could tell what it was like. And you know, when the fish are feeding on a spot, you're reluctant to have a lead around or a plumb around on it. So all I'd done was just load in a couple of rigs. As it happens, I'd done the night, and when I lifted them out in the morning, they were dripping with chod and silkweed. You know, the presentation obviously wasn't any good. So this morning, first light, I was up for a little while looking before I mucked around with the area. I didn't see any carp. The only carp I saw this morning were at the other end of the lake. So I took the chance, and I had a little rake about. I don't know if you've ever seen sea leads with the prongs on. Well, these are ideal for clearing any weed, and I didn't really imagine the spots to be that weedy. I thought there's a little bit of chod and silkweed on them, so I'll just rake them off. But I tell you what, an hour later and a big pile of weed later, I could see why I hadn't had any bites in the night. But real good little tip, though, was great. So I've got my spots sorted. You know, I've only been here 24 hours. I've got 2 spots sorted in the edge that I'm really happy with. They're really clean. I can lower the rig in, lift it out, and it's nice and clean. And more importantly, it's an area that I know the fish like to visit in the evening times. So the plan at the moment, I'm going to stay here till this evening, hopefully catch up with Dave later, have a look at this album and see what other pretty carp are in here. And tonight I may well go down the other end of the lake, but we'll see. So I'll catch up with you a little bit later. Well, I left you earlier on this afternoon, having just made a couple of spots in the edge. If you remember, I used a sea fishing lead with the prongs on to rake off a couple of spots. It wasn't too weedy. The area I've chose, it's an area I saw the fish keep coming into the bank, less than a rod length from the bank, and they kept feeding there. But I'd done the night there, and as it turns out, it was really silkweedy, a bit on the choddy side. So I raked off 2 spots, and I've now got 2 spots in the edge that are perfect, clean bottom. I can lower the rig in and out a dozen times and not pick up any silkweed or chod in any way. So I know I'm fishing perfect. But I tell you what has happened since I've done that has been incredible. These fish have just fed their heads off. It started at about 5 o'clock, no different to yesterday evening. It was about 5:15 yesterday evening, the same thing happened, and it's been mental. All day the fish were across on the other side. We've had a bit of a breeze today pushing across over there. So there's been loads of scum all collecting on that bank. So the fish have sort of been sunbathing amongst it. But as soon as that temperature started to drop, around just after 5 o'clock this evening, they drifted across this bank and they've been going mad. Why I haven't had a bite, I don't know. I've got no excuses just yet. But it's early days, I'm hopeful. The one thing that does worry me is yesterday evening, the fish seemed to drift off just as it got dark. And when I got up first thing this morning and had a look around the other side, I found some fish feeding in the edge there. So it makes me think that the fish are spending the nights and early mornings down that end of the lake. The one encouraging thing is once it got to about 10 or 11 in the morning and the fish down that end all bobbed up to the surface after feeding, everything I saw was the smaller ones. A lot of the, it's a nice carp, but certainly not the bigger fish. Yet in this swim, everything I've seen is the big ones, none of the small fish at all. So, obviously everything's drawing me to this swim. But it would be nice to get a bite, so we'll see. I may well fish tonight down there, but one thing's for certain, 5 o'clock tomorrow, I'll have my rods in the water here fishing.
Hello, Terry.
I was expecting you to turn up soon.
Hello, mate.
Hello, mate.
Nice to see you again.
You got that album then?
Yeah. Well, I thought you'd be interested in seeing it anyway.
Yeah.
How's it going?
It's been mental. I found them straight away. It's only a small lake, so they were easy enough to find, especially with that hot weather. But to begin with, they were hard to get to feed, and it's been real sort of. A lot of the bottom here has got dead weed on, only low.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think nothing of it. You can plop the lead in and feel it hit the bottom. You think it's all right, but if you sort of drag it a little bit, you get all silkweed and that on it. So I used an old sea fishing lead.
Oh yeah.
And I've since seen that there was a rake in the shed. It probably would have saved me a bit of time. I saw it in there. But anyway, I dragged it off with a sea fishing lead this morning when it was quite up this end. So I've now got 2 spots nice in the edge, and the baits are presented perfect, but I don't seem to be getting any takes. You know, and they're feeding down there. So
I didn't think it'd take you long to find a fish, obviously, but as you know, carp, but it can be tricky.
Small lakes are always the worst as well. If it was on a big pit and you'd found them, you get a bite before you get the first rod in, sort of thing. But on these small lakes, they're tricky.
Do you feel a bit happier today? Because it's been quite hot the last few days, hasn't it?
Yesterday when I got here, it was really, really hot and muggy.
Yeah.
But today it's a lot fresher. The wind's nicer. It's still been hot, but it's a lot better. It feels better for a bite.
There was a period when you think they might be spawning, or they might not think about spawning, but I think that's eased off now, hasn't it?
Yesterday evening they were really grouped and sort of getting together. I thought it was going to go that way, but instead of spawning they fed. So let's have a look at what
it's looking really good. Yeah. Well, I mean,
the only one I know is Blackeye.
Yeah. You probably know. Well, you've probably heard or you've seen pictures of some of the other fish, haven't you? I'm sure.
Yeah.
The red one in particular.
Blackeye, first page.
Yeah. There's some history there. I mean, I haven't gone. I've sort of stopped. I haven't gone up to the present time, but we've got a picture here back in '95 of the fish at £22.
So that's quite that's grown well in that time. Look at it. I love seeing them at their smaller sizes. And you've got the house there in the background that's not even finished. No, brilliant.
Yeah.
And the lake's grown up some since then as well.
Oh, absolutely. I haven't unfortunately got a picture. I'd like to have a picture of when it actually went £40, but that
first time it went 40. Yeah,
I've missed out. But you can see here. What is it?
42.4 September 01.
Yeah. So it's probably about 99, 2000.
Yeah.
It went £40.
So you want a shot of it first time at 40, and now you can have one at first time at 50 as well. Add that one in there somewhere. That was its last capture. I